On the morning of the second day after the fierce storm, the sky in the west of Dong Nai City was clear, without a trace of dark clouds. The sunlight shining through the treetops that had been devastated by the storm was now gradually recovering, sparkling on the remaining dewdrops. The chirping of birds, as if nature was trying to revive after the storm, made the atmosphere more gentle and peaceful. Along the riverbank, where the water flowed quietly, rows of fallen trees were still lying around, waiting to be cleaned up. Ontu and his sawing team continued the work they had started yesterday, with high spirits and professionalism. They not only cut down large tree trunks, but also cleaned up broken branches and roots that had popped out of the ground, creating a chaotic scene. The sound of the saw echoed, blending with the chirping of birds and the rustling of the wind through the leaves. Ontu, with a calm appearance and familiar demeanor, stood in command in the middle of the team. Although the work of sawing trees could be very stressful, he always kept his spirits up, often joking to ease the fatigue of his teammates. "You see, the storm has passed and there are still so many fallen trees. If I were weaker, I would have flown away." He laughed, raising his chainsaw high to be ready to continue. Min, a longtime member of the team, lifted his saw and replied, "Flying is fine, but the scariest thing is not being able to land after flying. If a tree falls, we can saw it, but if I fall, no one can cut it." The whole team burst into laughter at Min's joke. The laughter seemed to dispel the worries left after the storm. Under the bright sunlight, the team members continued to work enthusiastically. They divided into small groups, each group taking charge of an area around the village and the riverbank. Some members used chainsaws to deal with the large tree trunks, while others trimmed the small branches and pulled them out. This work required coordination and precision, as many of the trees had fallen close to houses or near the riverbank, and even a slight mistake could cause damage. A while later, Mr. Tung, the person in charge of the area near the riverbank, discovered a large old tree that had collapsed and was blocking the water. This could be dangerous when heavy rains returned, as the water would stagnate. He quickly reported on Tuesday. The team decided to prioritize dealing with this old tree first, to ensure that the river would not be blocked. "This tree is really big, but it is not impossible," Ontu said, looking closely at the tree trunk and signaling the members to prepare their tools. With many years of experience, he quickly came up with a plan. One group would use a saw to cut along the trunk to divide it into smaller pieces, while another group would use a rope and a truck to move the pieces of wood away from the riverbank. When they started cutting the tree, the sound of the chainsaw rang out steadily and dryly, as if the war between man and nature had not yet ended. The wood broke into pieces under the sharp saw blade, and large pieces of wood fell to the ground with a rumbling sound. Although the work was hard, the team members still maintained a cheerful mood. Mr. Hai, who was pulling the rope to help balance the tree trunk, said loudly as he worked, "I didn't expect that after so many years, I would become an expert in cutting down fallen trees. Maybe I should open a professional service in the future." The whole team laughed loudly again, continuing the work with a light spirit, despite the difficulties. As the afternoon approached, the sunlight became more intense, but no one showed any signs of fatigue. They were used to working in harsh conditions, and for them, the most important thing was to clean up the aftermath of the storm, bringing peace to the village and its people. Finally, after many hours of work, the old tree blocking the river was cut into several pieces and pulled out of the area. The river began to flow normally again, and the riverbank became more open. Antu wiped the sweat from his forehead, smiling with satisfaction as he looked at the completed work. "So the hardest part is done," he said to the team, his voice full of pride. "Now we just need to clean up a few small branches and we can go home early to rest." The birds were still chirping in the restored treetops. The traces of the storm seemed to be gradually disappearing, and the village returned to its original peacefulness. The team members began to pack up their tools, everyone happy and satisfied that their work had contributed to helping the community. Looking at the clear river and the surrounding trees gradually reviving, Tu felt relieved. He knew that no matter how fierce nature is, humans can still overcome it and restore its original beauty. And for him, leading the saw team is not just a job, but also a mission to help preserve the peace of the small villages along the river.